Good morning and welcome back to the One Celtic Fans View this morning. It's Saturday and I think it's onwards and upwards for the team. Chris Sutton has been having a little discussion, as he does, on his Saturday morning article in the Daily Record. He believes that Brendan Rodgers does want away from Celtic. We all know that. Is this beneficial to anybody to keep on dragging out the contract situation for Brendan? I think that we all know that Brendan's going to leave Celtic at the end of the season. And it doesn't help that when we get injuries to players like Cameron Carter-Vickers, it's not helping our season going forward. And I think that there was a lot of negativity around the game last week. You go into social media, and God help us if we had social media in the 1990s, it'd be an absolute mental. But I don't think it's helping anymore. We all know that Brendan Rodgers wants to leave at the end of the season, or will leave at the end of the season. And I think that from a fan's perspective, a lot of people want to just back the manager and make sure that he ends the season successful. Because if he ends the season successful and he's happy, and when he walks away, it means that we're going into the summer happy. Because God forbid that we go into the summer where we're not champions. It makes it a damn bloody long summer, doesn't it? And especially when you're having to look for a new manager. But Chris Sutton, we all know the story. Chris Sutton says, I'm starting to believe that Brendan Rodgers wants out of Celtic, and I've said it, and I'm going to give my reasons why he said. He says, you can't, with every passing moment of this current situation, my belief is, you know what, if that's the case, I don't blame him one bit for wanting out. Many fans felt he was within his right to leave after the transfer window, and he was, but he turned around and said, the manager said, look, I walked out before, I'm not going to walk out again. It didn't end too well for me on a personal note. So we all know that he's not going to walk out. If he's going to go before the end of the season, he's going to be sacked. But nobody's talking about, Chris Sutton says, look, nobody's talking about his trophy record. And nobody's talking about his trophy record, both the first time and the second time. To come in and do 2 doubles is successful. The football that we played the other night was great to watch. And that's the kind of Celtic that we've all wanted and that we've got used to seeing over the years. You can blame Brendan Rodgers. It would be far too easy for Brendan to blame the current playing staff on an ongoing basis and just say they're not good enough and throw the players under the bus. But he hasn't really done that. But what he has said, he's been poking and he's been saying things that you would think that a manager that was going to be here for the long term wouldn't say, Chris Sutton said. And is he entitled to say such things like driving a Honda Civic? Oh, of course he is, said Chris Sutton. He also went on to say that, look, you've got to deal with the likes of crucial injuries to Cameron Carter-Vickers, Alistair Johnson, Dyson Maeda, Jota, and then never mind losing the players that we have done over the last couple of windows. He has went into this season with one hand tied behind his back. A bit like Cameron Carter-Vickers going for the ball. He's went into the season with one hand tied behind his back. And a lot of people haven't, we all know as fans that the board are to blame and we all want rid of the board. And I still say, look, yes, we need to get rid of the board, but we also need to back this team. And the backing that the team got the other night was phenomenal at the start of the game. Yes, the team caused issues by having a goal go in, and the fan base, you could feel the tension, because let's face it, if Sturm Graz got another goal, but they didn't. They had that resilience to keep on going, keep pushing. The true Celtic came out on Thursday night, and it was a massive, massive step forward. Victory over Sturm Graz was a small move in the right direction, Chris Sutton said, but in the bigger picture, it's no close to solving the issues. I don't think that we can close the issues. Can we solve the issues between now and the next transfer window? Has to be the big question, because I don't think that we can. There's no issues that we can solve that would help the team on the pitch. There's nothing that we can do right now that's going to enhance the team. Do you know? And that's where we're at. Yes, we can keep pressure on this board to hopefully get some kind of movement. But that is going to take a concerted effort on an ongoing basis. And yes, the fans are always here longer than anyone else. Fans are here longer than players. We're here longer. A lot of people way, way longer than the board members have been around. And we'll be here long after the current incumbents of the boards decide to move on. They might think that they're moving on to something better. They might think that they've been pushed out the door. Hopefully some of them are pushed out the door. And we bring in people that really want Celtic to be world class. Because Brendan Rodgers is the manager that wants us to be world class, and he's the manager that wants us to do better right now. I mean, Chris Sutton is well within his right to say that, look, he doesn't blame the manager for wanting to leave. You know, I'd be severely hacked off. The Honda Civic line came after the performance at Dundee, and you're thinking that's nowhere near where Celtic should be. And, you know, Rodgers had every right. Some people say he was throwing the players under the bus. Rodgers says it's a bit of motivation to the players. Well, it worked on Thursday. All you can say is, Chris Sutton says it all boils down to abysmal recruitment. And people will say, well, it's Brendan Rodgers that's in charge of recruitment. It's not. I mean, if rumours to be believed, Brendan Rodgers turned down a lot of players during the summer. He goes on to say that, look, we can go on into the top of the table clash this weekend with Colby Donovan at right back and Johnny Kenny as the central striker. Injuries happen and the manager has been left dreadfully short. A lot of us knew that. I mean, but we're only 3 or 4 injuries. You can never go through a full season without having 1 or 2 of your main players injured, even if it's for 3 or 4 weeks. We've been unlucky that Alistair Johnson's been out for about 3 months, and it looks like he's going to be out longer. We've got Cameron Carter-Vickers out for 5 months. Do you know, if Brendan Rodgers pulls this off and wins us the league and wins us a double, this should go down as one of the greatest wins ever for a Celtic manager. It should go down as one of the best wins ever, because I don't think that there's been... Yes, you could go way back to 1985, but I don't think there's a manager that's went right into a season with one hand way tight behind his back and overcome the adversity that's been through. And yes, the adversities, we got chucked out of Europe, right? We got beat against a solid team that knew how they were going to play. They played the exact same in the previous round. You know, they played a certain style of football that I don't know what Celtic people were looking at when they watched the game, because it was over 2 legs. Before they played Celtic, they played the exact same style that they played against Celtic. How was things going to change? And people will say, well, that's not Brendan Rodgers' fault, because he's got a team of people that are looking. You know, anyway, we move on, because we went into the Europa. We didn't get the desired results in the first 2 games, but we fought back. And this could just be the start of an unbelievable season. And I think, personally, that if Rodgers does do it and we win the title and we win a double, see, a double would be... Sounds like excuses, Baz. What about the 7 bad months before those games? Did we not win a double? We must be the only fan base that criticise winning a double. And all I'm saying is back the manager between now and the end of the season. If you don't want to back the manager, that's fine. Do you know, if you want to change manager mid-season, I don't think that you're winning the title. If we change the manager in the mid-season, we're not winning the title. Anyway, Chris Sutton is the one who is saying all the comments. I'm just reiterating what Chris Sutton has said today. He said after Sturm Graz, the player know how much he cares about them. So he can justify what he said earlier on. There was no upturn to what happened on Thursday. You know, that's not going down well amongst the squad. He says, telling your own squad they're bang average. Brendan is right, but he shouldn't have said it, said him. I know that it wouldn't have gone down well in the dressing room if Martin O'Neill had said it. My own suspicions that those comments were actually intended for the boardroom and not the dressing room, which I think, of course it is. Brendan Rodgers has always had digs at the boardroom. And when you look back, not just this transfer window, look back the transfer window in the summer of the year before when we were in America. And Brendan Rodgers asked about players coming into Celtic. And Brendan Rodgers saying, go and ask Nicholson and Mackay. This is nothing new as far as Brendan Rodgers is concerned. Brendan Rodgers said 2 summers ago, go and ask Nicholson and Mackay, because they're the ones that are dealing with the transfers. They're the ones that are holding things up. Brendan Rodgers told you a year ago. So for blaming Brendan Rodgers now, we all know who the issue is. It's the men upstairs. But anyway, he says that his own suspicion, Chris Sutton says, the comments that he's made over the last couple of weeks has been aimed at the board. The display and the result against Dundee was miserable. It was an encouragement. The Sturm Graz performance, the outcome was the biggest individual positive for me was the showing of Arne Engels, who I thought had a fantastic game. There was not many players that didn't have a good game in the overall end of the end result. There was players that during the game you're thinking, what the fuck is he doing? But it's the way that Celtic are playing at the moment. If we could play like we played for 40 minutes of the second half, for full 90 minutes, we're on to something here. And I think it could be an absolutely fantastic end to the season. Chris Sutton went on to say it shouldn't be under strength. Celtic shouldn't be under strength. That's down to the board not providing Rodgers with enough of what he needed in the summer, said Chris Sutton. Chris Sutton then goes on to say that it's left the Celtic boss at his tether, and if he is at the end of his tether and he is to leave at the end of the season, I don't blame him, says Chris Sutton. I think that we need to draw a line. We need to draw a line right under the, is the manager leaving or is he not leaving? Because I don't think that it's going to do our mental health any good. And I know that mental health for you lot are a big thing. I don't think it's going to do our mental health any good between now and the end of the season. Right, it is game day today. For some teams in the SPFL, it's Saturday the 25th of October. Today's games, Dundee United versus St Mirren. That's 3 o'clock kickoff. Falkirk versus Dundee. That's the 3 o'clock kickoff also. And then there's Livingston versus Motherwell. That is also a 3 o'clock kickoff. So we will jump on at 4:45 as always to do the Saturday special to see where Celtic, if anyone's got any closer to Celtic when you look at the league table. I mean, Hibernian aren't playing until Sunday, so that's no one's going to close the gap. In Hearts play Celtic tomorrow. Yes, Hearts play Celtic tomorrow, 12 o'clock kick-off, early one. Get it in, done early, and then we can have the rest of the day to ourselves. Will it be a happy Sunday? Sunday morning, up with the lark. Can we kick Hearts? Can we break Hearts? Aberdeen Hibernian are also tomorrow. That'll be a good game, actually, because let's face it, Hibernian are want to push a little bit further forward just to make sure that they retain that third place. But then again, Kilmarnock will be thinking, if Aberdeen drop points and we beat Rangers, Kilmarnock go to Rangers. If Kilmarnock can beat Rangers, it keeps Rangers back down in 6th. But Rangers will be thinking, listen, we win and we jump right up into like 4th or potentially 3rd place, right behind Celtic. With the absolutely shit show season that they've had, changing manager already, to think that they're 1 win away from being right up behind our arses in the league, it's not acceptable. Come on, Aberdeen, just lose. Just lose, just let Hibernian win so they can push up. But anyway, that is us for this morning. Tell me what you think in the comments. Rangers are honking. Hearts will run out of steam after Christmas. I don't think that the Christmas one is. We'll do a little scores prediction tonight after the games. And that's me for this morning. On that note, have an absolutely fantastic day, Celtic fans, wherever you are, all around the world.